Hello everybody and welcome back to my world. I hope everyone is well. I'm doing a special video today for Linda at her request. A friend of mine that lives abroad she's in the same age group as I am, and she's been reporting or sharing with me her loss of strength in her hands, which is leading to what she is calling arthritis. And it's debilitating. It's kind of part of that aging process that really scares us. And I'm here to tell you there's a whole lot you can do about it. Arthritis is a term kind of like shin splints. When they don't know what else to call it, it gets lumped into that category. And arthritis is sometimes just a symptom of lack of movement. And it's true, as we get older, we stop doing physical work sometimes, you know. And physical work is the best thing for us. We are designed to move, we're designed to push and pull and twist. And I'm going to give you a routine that you can do with your hands that will really, really help you. And it's kind of a form of self-care. It's a way of loving your hands. Your hands are connected to your forearms. It will address the forearms. I could get into a lot of detail, but I'm going to stay with the hands just to address this specifically for her. So in my age group, I can tell you firsthand that I have also experienced this. When we stop pulling ourselves up and doing chin-ups and that kind of thing, we definitely lose our strength. When we don't pick up heavy things and, you know, just keep active, keep challenging yourself. I'm going to show you a few really obvious things that you can do right now every day. First one is so simple. This is my sprayer. This is just full of water. I'm not going to spray it in here because I don't want to wet the furniture. But one thing that I do every day, I have outside, I have a hanging fern. And ferns need a lot of moisture. So I go out there and I squirt it. And it takes about 50 squirts to really get that whole big plant nicely misted. So after I've done this about 10 times, my forearms are already tired. So then I have to change hands, which is good because I want both sides to be equal. So I go back and forth, and that's already working my grip strength, not in a really hard way, but it's also addressing my forearms. So this takes no extra time. You can incorporate it into your daily habits. If you have a plant, then that works great. Okay, so when you start thinking about all the things you can do, you'll come up with, oh my gosh, I could do a lot. Along that line, I don't know where to go first. These hand grippers, I have two. If you only have one, that's okay. This takes a lot of strength to squeeze these two right together, and see if you can get them right together. Notice the difference between the right hand and the left hand, and just begin and see how many you can do in one round. And then maybe not the next day, but the day after, try it again. Okay, so that addresses my grip strength, my forearm strength. You can see in my arms, so like, oh, my biceps are showing. Okay, so that's easy to do. These are easy to find, definitely worth a little investment. Even less expensive, I think I picked this up from an insurance company promotion. You just squeeze it. Same effect, you see? I remember in the old days in aerobics, we used to be jumping up and down, and we would do fingers wide apart and making a fist. We would do it 10 times in front, 10 times above, 10 times to the side, 10 times to the back, 10 times down. And you should have heard that class. They were all groaning by the end. It was one of the hardest things we did in the whole class, is just activating all those muscles in the hands. Okay, so you can carry something like this in your car when you're at a stoplight. instead of looking at your phone, do this. Okay, make sure you get both sides. Easy, easy, right? Then this is a little more exotic. I happen to find this in India. So I have a little basket with all my TV remote control gadgets in there. I keep this in there. So when I'm sitting there watching TV, I can just do some, you see, I just stick your finger in the end of that. And it's like a massage. These are little wooden balls at the end, so I do each finger. So for someone who is dealing with arthritis, this is really great because this goes right over your knuckles. Okay, and it's not really a tight tension. It's just perfect, and thumb as well. See, that's already done. How easy is that? So I've never seen these anywhere else. This amazing store in this tiny little town in India was full of massage gadgets. It was really wonderful, so I had to get something. Then, going a little more elaborate, I came across, there's a company called TheraBand. They're the ones that make those flat, elastic exercising bands. I don't even know if they still make these, but if you zero right in on here, it shows you abduction, adduction, flexion, extension exercises, so you can get every single action of the hand. And it comes with these 4 little balls. This one is really pliable. You see, I could practically flatten it out. So if you're somebody that has really, really almost minimal strength, you start with this one. And then they're graduated up. Here's the next one. It's just a little bit more. And then by the time you get to the end, you should be pretty much back to functional strength. So it shows you exactly like this one. It shows you how to do adduction, how to strengthen those muscles that pull those 2 fingers together. And you would do it in between each, right? And you can be surprised, oh my gosh, that's really hard. So you can entertain yourself, again, while you're watching TV, maybe in the commercials. You have something to do. So that's one exercise. So if this interests you, there's all kinds. You can see the picture is really, really self-explanatory. You could Google TheraBand and get yourself that little package. So it can get really specific, and you can really find the ones that really challenge you, and then you can kind of even out the strength of all the movements of the fingers. So I wanted to show you that. I know very few people would have this on hand, but that's an option. So when you're suffering and you're in fear of losing your functionality, then things like this become really interesting. I'll show you another one. I'll have you zero right in on this. Yamuna body rolling is a whole methodology created by a woman by the name of Yamuna. And she has extensive YouTubes. She's on Instagram. She has endless amounts of videos. She's really, really easy to follow. She designed a whole series of balls, actually. These are just a few. These were designed for the feet. So you would stand on them in a certain order. And she created these later on. These are called foot wakers, and these are foot savers. So foot savers and the wakers can also be used on the hands. Like I would start right there in the wrist bone chain, taking these shoulder width apart, and then just weight bearing on them. So that's not a lot of weight, but you align your wrist, your elbows, and your shoulders. And you get the idea. Then you would move to the palm, you would move to the base knuckle, you would move to the finger, and you would address each finger separately. So you can find a Foot Saver package and a video. She actually does one for wrists and hands. So you can get the Foot Savers and the video, and that's all you need, and that would be really highly recommended. Okay, and not only that, while you're at it, get the one for feet, and then you can address your feet too, because every single client I work with has issues with their feet, and we have to walk in our feet, and the way that we walk can sometimes create misalignment, as we've talked about in other videos. Okay, so there's some resources for you that you can follow up on your own. All right, what I really want to show you is something you can do right away without any equipment. Can you get a good angle there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me move these out of the way. So I'm just going to sit on my bed. You could sit on the floor. Just be comfortable. How's that, Em? Very good. Starting with shaking. How separate is your hand from your forearm? Should be floppy like a fishtail. I can shake it up and down. I could shake it sideways. I should take off my watch here. I used to do a little bit of Thai massage with people, and I used to get really bad thumb compression, you know, from going in to the tissue, and I actually stopped doing it because it was hurting me. For a long time, when I shook, I could feel, you know, that there was something not right up in the top of my thumb, and now I can't feel it anymore. So you can shake it out. Remember, our body shaking moves blood and lymph. It helps to relax muscles that are chronically tight. So just wrist shaking, and then you can go to elbow shaking. Kind of like if you had wet fingers and you're trying to throw off the little droplets off the ends of your fingers. Okay, so that's super easy to do, right? Actually, I still feel that a little bit up in my thumb. Okay, so that kind of warms them up. There's a bit of a system. I'm going to start with my wrist and just flex my wrist. So you can put your hands in a prayer. I'm leaning on my thigh here, and I'm bringing my wrist into 90 degrees flexion. Many, especially more aging people I work with, they can't kneel on the floor and flex their wrist this way. So we lose this ability. Then I'm going to take it the other way. And I can just do that this way. I could do the same thing in the all fours position on the floor with a little more weight. But this is where I recommend you begin. Okay, so we've just mobilized the wrist. Another thing you can do easy is put your palms together, interlace your fingers, and turn the palms facing outward. You see, I have that same bend in my wrist. And that, I carry that right up through the elbow, shoulders slide down, and then I can take that right up over my head and pressing up through the heel of the hand. Take that out to the side, push out through the heel of the hand, so I have that same 90-degree bend in my wrists. Shoulders down, so I really pull the energy out through the base of the heel of the hand, turn the fingers backward, and then open the chest. So I'm getting a good stretch here through the whole front collarbone area, through the chest, through the front shoulders, but I'm pulling that energy out through the heel of the hand. Notice the difference in each side. Okay. Good. So I could get distracted here, so I'm going to come back to the hands, interlace your fingers again, and this is just a nice, it's like I take one hand and I'm pulling up the one below it. So the one below it is really heavy. Kind of go over the little waterfall and down. So I'm making like an infinity circle or a figure 8. It's just really relaxing. But see how that incorporates the wrists. I didn't check with Linda which side it was on, but she's a web designer, so I suspect the hand that she was having difficulty with is her mousing hand. All that tech that we do, the same thing in the thumbs from texting. Don't kid yourself, that has an effect on your joints. It becomes a repetitive stress injury over time. Okay, so the shaking, the wrist movement, I'm going to take my thumb and just massage. Think of dividing your palm into 9 parts, and I'm just massaging each part, going right up to the base of the joint. Then I can do the outside line, and notice what you feel. There's lots of little bones here that need to be movable. And then feel the mounds, and on the other side I have my finger between the bones. So just going in there, this is an act of self-nurturance, self-love. And then on the palm, oh, I feel something interesting in there. There's a bit of tenderness in there. That's interesting. So I could stay in there a little longer. Another thing I noticed with people, they can't separate the fingers and open the thumb. Like that. And keep the wrist neutral. That's another easy exercise. Make your fist really tight, 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 and then open. Then take your arms straight up in the air and open. It's one of the exercises we do in the water. Make a fist, take them all the way down. So if I was standing, I could go all the way down and open. Okay, so I'm getting sidetracked. All right, so now let's kind of begin. So say I've done that on both sides. I'm going to start to work with my little finger. Bringing this, you see you have joints in your finger. You have the joint that attaches the finger actually to the hand, and then you have another little bending place here, and then another bending place here. So there's 3 joints. All of those joints need to be moving and active, flexible and strong. If they're not, we get arthritis. Arthritis is often another name for getting rusted out because we're not moving them. So systematically, I start with the little finger. I'm going to take a hold of it and just traction it. So I'm pulling it out. Gentle. And then maybe a little more. And then once I have that traction, now I rotate it. So I've got the whole entire finger and I'm rotating it. Couple times as I'm tractioning it. Then I'm going to take those 2 fingers apart. That's like a stretch. Then if I want to strengthen them, I can try to squeeze those 2 fingers together as I'm trying to press them apart. So see how much you can play with that in there. Then I come back to the little finger. I want to mobilize it in every direction. So I take that first joint, I use my thumb and my hand, and I bend the finger at that top joint. and breathe. Just be there, breathe with it. In the future, you can try what's called PNF. I'm going to try to straighten that little finger, but I can't move because I'm holding it in place. So that strengthens the muscles in the stretch position. But in the beginning, just this is fine. And relax. Now I want to bend it the other way. You see, that's a little tight. So I'm using my thumb here. Oh, I feel that. That's a little tight in there. So I be careful that I don't yank it too far, and breathe with it. So as you're holding a stretch like this, imagine the breath moving into the opening. Now I'm doing a little resistance. I'm trying to bring that finger back up. And I feel that, wow, there's not a lot of strength in there. Okay. So now I want to get to the next joint. You can tell where they are because you have your little creases there. I want to bend my finger at that place. So I use my hands creatively and a little squeeze. So the base joint, which is the one we just did, that will move both ways. This joint does not back bend. So you cannot bend it the other way, so don't try. Now I go to the end joint. I have such a little fingers here, you can't see. And then I try to make a bend there. So I'm actually getting a bend in both of them right there. See, that finger needs to be able to do that. And then I try to straighten it. Good, and then release it and give it a little massage. It's like, that's a good little pinky. And you'll feel the difference. Shake it out anytime, and then you do the same process with the next one. So I go right to the top joint and I bend. So if you're already suffering from arthritic type symptoms, be careful and be gentle. My Dr. Burdenko teacher, he's an encyclopedia of these amazing remedies for things. With arthritis in the hands, he has the remedy of, so let me just back bend this the other way. See how I do that? So you take sand, find some sand, put it in like a Tupperware or a bucket big enough that you can put your whole hand in the sand, but you have to warm it up first. So I guess you'd have to put it in the microwave. Warm up the sand to make sure it's not too hot so you don't burn yourself, and then you insert your whole hand into the warm sand and just leave it there until it cools down. And that is a remedy for pulling arthritis or inflammation out of your hands. I haven't tried it, so I just remember that. So now I go to this one. I'm going to actually do these two at the same time. So simple. It's not brain surgery. It's so simple, isn't it? But we just sometimes don't slow down enough to think about the simplicity and to just give our body what it needs. Now I try to straighten that finger. That's how I recover my strength. Okay. Oh, I didn't traction it. My mistake. So first traction and then rotate. So as I'm pulling my finger out, I'm rotating it. Okay, so I go on to the next one. Traction, rotate in both directions. It feels really good. It's nice when you do this with someone else to be the receiver. It just feels so nice. Okay, and I'm going to, did you hear that? I had a little adjustment in there. So it takes a little time. And you'll be, yeah, there's something going on in there too. So often arthritis begins in these big knuckles here. You'll see it on arthritic elders. Their knuckles have gotten all big. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm sure that's just where the inflammation is in the joints. So when I back bend this one, I can feel the pull, the stretch right through my palm. This is recommended for everybody. Think of it as preventative medicine. Okay, so now I'm going to do those two knuckles. Then I'm going to try to straighten that finger. Good. So you get the idea, right? So I go to the index finger, I traction, rotate both directions. So I'm creating space. Traction just means create space in the joints. Then I back bend that one. So you might want to do each one a little bit longer than I am. Breathing, really noticing, what do I feel? You know, there's consciousness in each part of your body. Fingers represent details, and they have extreme articulation and dexterity. I think it would be it'd be a big deal to lose that function and articulation and strength. So this is worth it. Yeah, so I want to keep full range of motion. The joints are there for a reason. Then I'm trying to straighten it. Good. And I can do this abduction. Take those quite wide, like I'm doing the splits. This reminds me of my mother. My mother was a pianist, and she had small hands with short fingers, kind of like mine. She used to try to stretch her fingers apart. And then I'm going to try to close it. Yep. Then we get to the thumb. Thumb's super important. I get a grip high up, I pull and I traction. Oh, that feels so good. The other way doesn't feel anything but this way, so it tells me I need the external rotation in that joint. Oh, I could do that for half an hour. So that when you rest your hand down, here's something to notice. Does the thumb lie on its side, or does it really lie down? And you see mine doesn't. So that's why that action is feeling so good. I learned that from my friend Kate, who's a body rolling practitioner amongst other things. Okay, so then I get into taking that thumb in this action. So the joint is up quite high here. This is really important to be able to spread your fingers apart and separate your thumb from your fingers. So I really recommend the Yamana body rolling package. And the other way. that. I feel a bit of tightness there that goes right up over here. And this is just the hands. There's a whole sequence on forearms that are very neglected, kind of like lower legs, lower arms, hands and feet. We need to spend much more time on them. Good. And then I'm going to bend my thumb like that. Yeah, so you can prevent a lot of future, can keep your freedom. It's all about freedom of movement. And now I'm going to try to straighten that thumb. Good. I can take that really wide. So you have to kind of get creative. How can I take that and really spread that wide? And then shake it out and feel the difference. Okay, so that's a self-care package for your hands. When you're putting on your hand lotion, work it. You know, these bones here, you can work in between them. Get right in there and feel what's happening in there. And you're working it from both sides. So I should have a little more space in there so I feel old stuff in here from my massaging days. It still can get worked out. It's almost like you bring my thumb and finger together in there. So each hand is different. You know, you have reflexology in your feet. It's also in your hands. It's like a holograph or a microcosm of the whole body. What's going on in the whole is going to show up everywhere. There's even practice iridology. They can examine your iris, and it's a reflection of everything. So hands are really, really, really important. And when we start losing our function in them, then you can pull out this video. But better than that, I would start doing it right away before you have issues. See, I just did this hand, and I can almost see the difference. There's more space between my fingers. And obvious things, wrist circles, you can do anytime. Same thing with your feet. So we could do a whole video. I could show you to do exactly the same thing with your feet. Okay, so that's lots of material. If you actually incorporate all of that, you have a whole plethora of tools that you can use to help restore your grip strength. So that's it for today. Good luck. Have fun and love. Love your hands. Love, love. Bye for now.